from the Boeing Company.
Ready? Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Barker. I'm the business development lead for the AH-6I light attack armed reconnaissance helicopter from the Boeing Company. I retired out of Hawaii, US PACOM J7 last July after spending 2 years up there as the Joint Exercises Director. Commanded the Army's Aviation Brigade in Korea for 2 years prior to that, and had the privilege to deploy the 2nd Squadron 6th Cavalry off of Wheeler Army Airfield to Iraq in 2005 and 7 as a squadron commander. I'm here with Darin and Tina Cannon, representing their company, Phoenix Heliparts, a Boeing teammate now. They're also from Mesa. Darin is probably the best maintenance, repair, and overhaul guru that I've ever met. He's a subject matter expert, and he knows this platform inside and out. In fact, they built the first one in conjunction with Boeing that we've used as our test and experimental aircraft. I'm going to open up the presentation with an overview and highlight the Boeing AH-6I, talk to you about its capabilities, what its purpose is, and then I'll turn it over to Darin to talk through kind of a unique opportunity for Boeing and PHP to remanufacture current MD aircraft into a state-of-the-art AH-6I platform. This is a huge advantage because it gives our customers the opportunity to use operations and maintenance funding to remanufacture their aircraft instead of going through a new acquisition and kind of the arduous acquisition and funding process. And we're happy to do that for any customer without a current MD fleet by selling them the new manufactured AH-6I out of the Boeing plant in Mesa. If we end up a little bit time constrained here, I think we've got a hard time about 15, 20, but if there are any questions that anybody has and we run out of time, Darin and I will be happy to stay behind afterwards or to meet with anybody, throughout the next couple of days that may have a detailed question or follow-up. Can you hit the next slide for me, please? This is the overview. I'll talk a little bit about the developmental history of the AH-6I, the basic features, and then I'll turn it over to Darin and he'll talk to you about the remanufacturing steps, program review, and highlight how this is proven successful as it's already been done and it's very easily replicated. Next slide. So the AH-6I is a developmental program. We're getting ready to load the line in Mesa this year, and we'll start the initial production run for an international customer. The AH-6I is a combination of 30 years of special operations experience combined with 30 years of developmental and technological experience from the Apache, migrated into one very distinguished platform. This is not a civilian helicopter that has been retrofitted by strapping on some guns, but this is a military helicopter first and foremost. Next slide. This is the walk-around chart, as we call it, and it's the basic features of the AH-6I. And I'm not going to cover all of them, but I will highlight some of those that differentiate this aircraft more than anybody else out there. First of all, we've got a crash-worthy stroking seat that increases the survivability in this airframe from a 10G crash or hard landing to 30 Gs, a 3-to-1 increase. It's got a state-of-the-art mission computer and an integrated and upgraded cockpit. If you take a look in the back cabin area of the AH-6, you don't see a bunch of black boxes or controllers. You see ammunition and fuel. And that's because all of the things that used to be federated on aircraft similar to this are now fully integrated through the nerve center, which is the mission computer. 6-bladed main rotor system, greatly increasing our payload capability, and a 4-bladed tail rotor system to provide the anti-torque necessary to cover that payload. It's a single-engine aircraft, but with a very reliable dual-channel FADAC engine. Next slide. What's the AH-6 all about? It's all about providing air-ground integration to the soldiers, Marines on the ground in a light attack, a precision attack, or anti-armor role. Ideally suited for reconnaissance, security, and escort. As you can see by the photograph on the right-hand side, you've got the troop planks with 4 soldiers for insertion or extraction operations. Combat search and rescue is aided by a tremendous sensor and excellent fields of observation from the cockpit for the crew. As you can see in the bottom right-hand slide is the weapons array. Inboard, 7.62-inch miniguns. Outboard, 50 cal machine guns, 70 millimeter rockets, or Hellfire missiles. Next, crashworthy fuel, self-sealing fuel system provides tremendous flexibility. The internal tanks, 220 liters, 58 gallons, will give an air crew about 1.5 to 1.7 hours of mission time. Although we call it optional, the Goliath tank adds an extra 63 gallons. Having flown light attack armed reconnaissance missions myself for 22 years, that would never be optional in my book. I would want to go with that extra 2 hours worth of gas anytime I left the FOB or the hard stand. If you don't need a suite of weapons, you can remove the weapons, use the plank, and add another 2 hours worth of fuel with the optional ice tanks. You could do that for ferry operations, or maybe you're utilizing the AH-6 as an air command and control platform, and you'll need 5.5, 6 hours of station time in order to execute that mission. That's kind of short and sweet. We've got a lot more information available in the Boeing booth. You'll also be able to find a AH-6 product description on the Boeing website. If you have any more details, questions, you can seek us out there, or you can shoot me an email. But at this point in time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Darin Cannon to talk about the reman operation that he's teamed up with his company and Boeing to execute. Next slide.
Thanks, Jim. The reman process is pretty straightforward. Can we actually see the next slide? Just jump ahead a little bit. We can actually take any MD platform and actually reman into the latest configuration of an AH-6I, utilizing the country's current assets. Next slide, real quick. On the top left is actually the first aircraft last year that actually went through the reman process. It was a commercial MD-500E model that we actually depopulated and modified into the current AH-6 airframe, AH-6I airframe. And from there, went across the street to Boeing where it was populated. The process is pretty straightforward. We go in country, we can assess the current fleet, we get a baseline of the aircraft, and then we can also add an option to give the client a credit for all the unused parts, making this a total turnkey package, utilizing their existing maintenance operational budget. Once we establish the baseline and come up with an estimate, we will bring the aircraft back to Mesa, where I'll be depopulated and go through a complete airframe strip and inspection. From there, we can then determine if any additional repairs are required on the aircraft, as well as it's also another opportunity for us to carry out any operational repairs that are required to get the airframe back into the condition that we need to be in, as well as we take the opportunity then to corrosion-proof the aircraft. Once the repairs are done, we can then modify the aircraft into the AH-6I airframe configuration, and then it's sent across the street to Boeing where it's populated into the AH-6I. We've done this many, many times on the commercial side. We've seen aircraft with fleet hours over 20,000 hours, where most militaries we see have 2,000 or 3,000 hours. So this is done all the time. It's proven. It's been successful for some operators already, and we're really excited that Boeing has opted this as a solution to some of the current operators out there. Next slide. Jim, maybe you can just kind of
Yeah,
summarize
so-
up.
Appreciate it, Darin. So, in summary, Boeing and Phoenix Heliparts are very pleased to offer this kind of a non-standard opportunity to remanufacture aircraft into a state-of-the-art, sophisticated, new capability, utilizing O&M funds, vice a new acquisition and startup. The payload increases, the capability increases that the customers will see transitioning from the old version of the MD aircraft into the Boeing AH-6I have been truly phenomenal. And I don't think there's any way Boeing would be able to do this without Darin and Phoenix Heliparts being a critical team member. And we look forward to addressing any questions that you might have at this time.
Sir, you had mentioned that this could be done with O&M funds, but would it have to be under the PEO aviation side or SOCOM, PEO SOCOM, or?
So this could be done as a direct commercial sale case, DCS, straight from the country to Boeing. If you wanted to do an FMS case, it would end up going through the Program Manager for Non-Standard Rotary Wing Aviation, the PMNSRWA. So,
Your target is kind of the DCS or FMS?
DCS
Okay.
primarily,
Okay,
that
sir.
would probably be the avenue we're going.
Okay.
You bet.
And when is that time process that you have going to examine the fleet and then assessing and then upgrading? What does that time frame look like?
Well, to actually. Are you there? The actual assessment doesn't take very long. We could be in country, do initial assessment, get a baseline within 3 weeks. From there, bring it back with Boeing program management, discuss it with them and the customers, and they can make a timeline from there. But the actual inspection is a very short period of time.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Thank you, sir.
We got you back on schedule?
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.